Passengers settle into their seats as Flight 217 departs Seattle for Tokyo. Among them is Emily Carter, a travel journalist, and Mark Lawson, an ex-military medic. The flight crew assures passengers of a smooth journey, but an ominous weather report suggests otherwise. A young boy in the front row grips his mother's hand tightly, sensing the unease in the air. Mark looks around, instinctively scanning for emergency exits, an old habit from his military days. Emily pulls out her notebook, jotting down thoughts about the adventure that awaits her in Tokyo. The captain's voice comes over the intercom, confident and calm, explaining the estimated flight time and expected weather conditions. A flight attendant moves down the aisle, checking seatbelts and smiling reassuringly at passengers. An elderly man places a lucky charm on his tray table, muttering a quiet prayer before takeoff. 2 hours into the flight, turbulence shakes the plane. The captain announces that an unexpected storm is causing severe wind conditions. The lights flicker, and the plane lurches violently as passengers grip their armrests. A baby cries somewhere in the cabin, the sound lost in the growing murmur of worried passengers. Mark tightens his seatbelt, his training kicking in as he assesses the situation. Emily glances at the flight attendants, watching for any sign of real concern in their faces. A passenger in the row ahead clutches a rosary, whispering prayers under their breath. Outside the window, lightning flashes, illuminating the vast, empty sky for a split second. The overhead compartments shake, and a suitcase tumbles out, landing with a loud thud near the aisle. The cockpit fills with alarms. An engine failure forces the captain to send a distress signal. Oxygen masks deploy as the plane plummets. Screams echo through the cabin as the crew instructs passengers to brace for impact. Mark instinctively shields the woman next to him as the plane shudders violently. Emily grabs the armrest, her mind racing with thoughts of what might come next. The plane's nose dips forward, sending drink carts rolling down the aisles uncontrollably. A loud bang is heard from the right engine, causing a fresh wave of panic. The lights flicker out completely, leaving only emergency lighting casting eerie shadows across the terrified passengers. The captain's voice, strained yet controlled, repeats over the intercom. "Brace! Brace! Brace!" The ground rushes toward them through the windows, a blur of white snow and dark trees. Flight 217 slams into a snow-covered valley deep in Alaska. Metal screeches, flames ignite, and debris scatters. Emily wakes up disoriented, surrounded by wreckage and the scent of burning fuel. Mark pulls survivors from the twisted remains. The cold air bites at exposed skin, making movement painful. Someone cries out in agony nearby, their voice barely audible over the crackling fire. Emily's vision blurs as she tries to focus, the shock dulling her senses. A section of the fuselage groans under its own weight, threatening to collapse further. In the distance, the eerie silence of the wilderness feels almost suffocating after the chaos of the crash. Flames flicker in the wreckage, casting ominous shadows on the snow-covered ground. Only 12 of the 180 passengers survive. Injuries range from minor to critical. The realization sets in. They are alone, with no sign of rescue. Mark does a quick head count, noting the wounded who need immediate attention. Emily shivers uncontrollably, wrapping her arms tightly around herself. One survivor clutches a family photo, tears freezing on their cheeks. A distant howl sends a fresh wave of fear through the group. The fire from the wreckage flickers, their only source of light in the growing darkness. The smell of fuel lingers, making everyone wary of a potential explosion. A woman murmurs a prayer, her breath visible in the frigid air, while another survivor begins sorting through luggage for anything useful. The blizzard howls through the valley, reducing visibility to mere feet. Mark tightens his coat around a wounded survivor, his hands numb from the cold. Emily struggles to keep the fire going, shielding the tiny flames from the gusts of wind. A teenage survivor, Jake, shivers violently, his lips turning blue. Some argue about whether they should leave the wreckage and look for shelter. A loud cracking noise makes them all freeze. Part of the wreckage collapses under the weight of the snow. Mark checks the radio again, but all he hears is static. Someone starts crying, overwhelmed by the hopelessness of their situation. Emily looks up at the sky, whispering, "Please, let someone find us." A distant howl cuts through the wind, making every survivor tense. Emily grips a piece of broken metal, her makeshift weapon shaking in her hands. Mark watches the tree line, his breath slow and controlled. The wolves inch closer, their eyes glinting in the firelight. One survivor panics and throws a piece of burning debris at them, making them momentarily retreat. The tension is thick. No one dares to move. Another low growl echoes through the valley, sending chills down Emily's spine. Mark whispers, "We have to stay together. They're testing us." The wolves begin circling, waiting for the right moment to strike. Emily and Mark push through knee-deep snow, their breath coming in heavy clouds. The trees loom around them, silent and unforgiving. They know they have to find higher ground for a better radio signal. Mark spots a ridge in the distance and points to it. Thought might work. Emily stumbles, her exhaustion catching up to her. Mark helps her up, his grip strong despite the cold biting into his fingers. Every shadow feels like it's hiding something. Every snap of a branch makes them flinch. Emily mutters, "They have to hurry. The others are counting on us." Finally, they reach the base of the ridge, but a steep climb awaits them. Mark hoists himself onto a narrow ledge, reaching down to help Emily. She gasps for breath, her fingers numb against the frozen rock. The wind roars around them, threatening to knock them off balance. "Almost there," Mark mutters, urging her forward. Emily's foot slips, sending a spray of ice and rock tumbling down. Mark grabs her arm just in time, pulling her up onto solid ground. They rest for a moment, staring at the endless expanse of white below. Somewhere far off, the wolves' howls continue, a chilling reminder of the dangers below. Emily turns on the radio, her hands shaking as she tries to adjust the frequency. Static fills the radio for a long moment. Then, something else. A faint voice cuts through the noise, distorted but unmistakably human. Emily's breath catches in her throat. "Hello? Can you hear us?" Mark quickly adjusts the dial, trying to strengthen the signal. "This is Flight 217. We crashed. Survivors need immediate rescue." The voice on the other end is muffled, but they hear the words, "Search team" and "coordinates." Hope flares in Emily's chest as she exchanges a glance with Mark. But before they can respond, the signal begins to break up again. Mark curses, adjusting the radio frantically, but the voice is gone. Jake shivers violently, his condition worsening by the hour. One of the survivors, Lucas, clenches his jaw. "We can't just sit here and freeze to death." Emily and Mark haven't returned yet, and the others are growing worried. A woman named Sarah pulls her coat tighter around herself, her lips turning pale. The wind howls through the wreckage, making eerie sounds through the twisted metal. The wolves haven't attacked yet, but their presence is felt just beyond the fire's glow. Someone suggests rationing the remaining food, but the portions are already meager. Lucas glares at the wreckage. "If they don't come back by morning, we have to make a decision." Sarah swallows hard. "What if they don't come back at all?" Emily takes a deep breath, her legs trembling from exhaustion. Mark steadies her, patting her on the shoulder. "We need to move fast." The wind has picked up, making the descent treacherous. Emily stares into the white void below, barely able to make out the wreckage in the distance. What if the others didn't make it? She whispers, her breath forming small clouds. Mark doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he leads the way down, carefully testing each step. The snow shifts under their weight, sending small avalanches of powder cascading down the mountainside. Mark's radio crackles, but it's just static again. The hope they had moments ago is quickly fading. As they continue downward, the distant howls of wolves remind them that the wilderness is not empty. Lucas kicks at the snow angrily. They should have been back by now. Sarah tightens her coat around herself, shivering violently. We have to be patient, another survivor mutters, but doubt lingers in their voice. Jake groans, his fever worsening. Someone presses a damp cloth to his forehead. The fire is weak, barely giving off enough heat to fight the encroaching cold. Every sound beyond the fire's glow makes them flinch. The wolves are still out there. Lucas turns sharply. If they don't come back, we leave. Sitting here is suicide. Sarah's eyes widen. You want to leave them behind? I want to survive, Lucas mutters, jaw clenched tight. Emily stumbles into the fire's weak glow, her breath ragged. Mark follows close behind, his face covered in ice and exhaustion. Zara rushes forward. You made it. Lucas crosses his arms, relief barely showing on his hardened expression. Emily wastes no time. We made contact. Someone heard us. Murmurs ripple through the group. Hope, disbelief, cautious optimism. Mark kneels beside Jake, feeling his forehead. He doesn't have much time left. Sarah's voice shakes. How long until rescue? Emily exhales, watching her breath disappear in the frozen air. We don't know.